George Bush's life. Items from family, friends, college and the White House that influenced the 41st president. 1. Poppy's glove. George Bush played baseball at Yale, as his father had, and he became captain of the university's team in 1948. Poppy, as he was known in his years as a student, was a popular player, and he was known for his sense of humor. When he was president, he kept his first baseman's glove in a drawer of his desk in the Oval Office. He oiled it regularly and often used it to concentrate, putting it on to soak his hand in while he was thinking. The sport brought Mr. Bush great pleasure. He and his wife, Barbara, often invited Houston Astros players for lunch in Texas, and he once brought President Hosni Mubarak of Egypt to a Baltimore Orioles game. Even after vascular disease began to limit Mr. Bush's movements, sports and the outdoors were still important to him. He still spent summers in Maine and enjoyed time on his speedboat, the Fidelity. "Nobody asks me to be on the team anymore," he said in the HBO documentary 41. "But with boats, I'm still in the game." George H.W. Bush, a one-term president who steered the nation through a tumultuous period in world affairs, dies at 94. 2. Skull and Bones. Mr. Bush was a member of Skull and Bones, a secretive undergraduate society at Yale. Several of his family members had also been bonesmen, including his father, brother, uncles, great-uncle and a cousin, and his son George W. Bush later became part of the group. This Skull and Bones mascot is from the Society's 1879 photo album, the year after William Howard Taft was selected for membership. For Mr. Bush, the elite network was like an extended family. Bonesmen helped him get his first job in the oil industry, and several invested in his oil ventures. Others offered financial support for his election campaigns, and some served under him as advisors, speechwriters, ambassadors and cabinet members. But being a member of an elite and secretive society also presented a challenge for Mr. Bush, who struggled to shake off an image of being out of touch with ordinary Americans. In the 1992 presidential campaign, the candidate Patrick J. Buchanan criticized Mr. Bush for having run a Skull and Bones presidency. Rumors about the society's rituals, and theories about its influence on the American government, deeply frustrated Mr. Bush and his family. 3. In the Memory of Robin. One day in 1953, Barbara Bush found that her normally active 3-year-old daughter, Robin, was pale, sluggish and covered in bruises. That afternoon, the Bushes learned that their daughter had advanced leukemia. Over the next few months, Mrs. Bush traveled repeatedly between Texas and New York, where Robin was treated at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. After roughly 6 months, the hospital performed surgery after it found that Robin's treatments had caused internal bleeding. She died 2 months before her 4th birthday. This portrait of Robin, painted by Louise Vandenberg Altson in 1953, was a gift from Mr. Bush's mother. It was displayed prominently in the family's home in Midland, Texas, and remains in their Houston home today. Mr. Bush struggled with Robin's illness, admitting later that he didn't have the guts to comfort and care for her. But Mrs. Bush never left Robin's side. After the child's death, Mr. Bush helped his grieving wife keep busy with volunteer work and social functions. Their 7-year-old son, George, tried to distract his mother by making her laugh. The Bushes were determined to move forward. After the births of 2 more boys, Mr. and Mrs. Bush had another daughter, in August 1959. That daughter, Dorothy, was a wild, dark version of Robin, Mr. Bush wrote.